A report has recently come out from Adam Schefter. He posted this morning at about 6:15 that the Saints have already made exploratory calls about trading up in the second round. It appears that they would like to trade up to select a quarterback, and maybe, just maybe, Jaxson Dart is that guy. The Saints obviously currently have the 40th overall pick, which is the 7th pick in the second round. I don't know how high they feel they need to trade up to get a guy like Jaxson Dart, but certainly that appears to kind of be their target, and it directly lines up with an article Ross Jackson at LouisianaSports.net put out yesterday. He wanted to mention the top fits quarterback-wise for head coach Kellen Moore's offense based on what he's seen from Kellen Moore in the past. The first name that Ross puts out is Jaxson Dart. Look, there's a lot to like about Jaxson Dart. I get it. A lot of people are going to say, okay, well, is playing for Lane Kiffin a positive or a negative for Jaxson Dart? Because his offense is so quarterback friendly, because quarterbacks in his offense haven't traditionally had a ton of success at the NFL level. But when you look at Jaxson Dart, he is a 3-year starter at Ole Miss. And across the board, he has gotten better every single year. His first year, 62% completion percentage, 2,900 yards, 20 touchdowns, 11 picks. Second year, 65% completion, 3,300 yards, 23 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. And then this last season, excellent. 69.3% completion, 4,200 yards, 29 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. And we know how athletic Jaxson Dart is. We know he has shown a little bit of an ability to run. I think there's a lot to like about him. He has a ton of starting experience in a tough conference like the SEC. And again, he's gotten better in every single category across the board for 3 straight years. I think there's a lot to like about him. Obviously, look, no quarterback is ever going to be perfect. I have personally expressed my concern with pretty much every quarterback in this draft class. But, again, reports have surfaced that this is the quarterback that Kellen Moore and company have done the most homework on, so it makes sense. Out of all the guys they've looked at, they personally went to his pro day. Kellen Moore was there. This is kind of the guy that they are targeting. Whether it's 9 overall, whether they trade back up into the first round, whether they trade up into the second round, Jaxson Dart kind of seems like the guy. But what if it's not Jaxson Dart? And the next name that Ross Jackson mentions is former Alabama quarterback Jalen Milroe. He mentions that Jalen Milroe, similar quarterback coming out of college, as Jalen Hurts was, who, of course, won the Super Bowl with Kellen Moore this past season. I have a big problem with this. I've never been a huge fan of Jalen Milroe. I don't think he's a quarterback. I don't think Jalen Milroe can throw the ball consistently. I know people are going to say, oh, well, look at his numbers. Look at his rating under these deep passes. I've seen him miss a lot of deep passes and a lot of big moments. Now, look, in this article, Ross puts out Milroe's passer rating by depth in 2024. This is per Pro Football Focus. 20-plus yards, he has a 104.2 quarterback rating. In that 11 to 19-yard range, it drops all the way to 88.7. 0 to 10 yards, 88.9. Behind the line of scrimmage, 89.9. So it seems like, okay, Jalen Milroe can throw the deep ball a little bit. He struggles with the short to intermediate throws. The NFL, there are a ton of short and intermediate throws. And look, I think the numbers on his deep ball are better than it actually is. You go back and watch Jalen Milroe in those gotta-have-it moments in those big-time games, he struggled. I talked about the losses for Alabama this year. In those losses, Jalen Milroe wasn't that good. I mean, when you shut down his ability to run, he didn't do much. For example, against Tennessee, they held him. He wasn't able to run the ball that much. 14 carries for 11 yards against Tennessee. Here's what Jalen Milroe did through the air. 55% completion, 239, 1 touchdown, 2 picks. How about against Oklahoma? You remember they lost that game late in the season. Jalen Milroe, 15 carries for 7 yards against Oklahoma. What did he do in the air? 11 of 26, 164 yards, no touchdowns, 3 picks. Vanderbilt. He did have a rushing touchdown, but 7 carries for 10 yards. 310 yards passing. He had a touchdown. He also had a pick. When you limit Jalen Milroe's ability to run the football, he struggles in the passing game. I understand that Kellen Moore has had a lot of success with Jalen Hurts. I understand that Jalen Hurts runs the ball a lot. Who's to say that they can't do the same thing with a guy like Jalen Milroe? One, Jalen Hurts has a way better offensive line than anything Jalen Milroe could potentially play behind in New Orleans, at least for the foreseeable future. So it takes a little bit of the pass rush off Jalen Hurts. Also, coming out of college into the NFL, I thought Jalen Hurts was a way better passer than Jalen Milroe. Everyone's going to want to look at Alabama Jalen Hurts. Look at what he did at Oklahoma his last year. He was runner-up for the Heisman Trophy that year. Jalen Milroe was able to throw the ball a lot better. Jalen Hurts was able to throw the ball a lot better than a guy like Jalen Milroe. The last name that Ross mentions is a guy that continues to shoot up draft boards. Every year there is a player that has a late rise that people bring up. Hey, watch this guy. He could go a lot higher than projected. Tyler Shough might be that guy this year. A lot of people have age concerns. They say he's 26 years old. That's not a concern for me because, okay, if you think Shuck is mature enough at 26 years old to come in and play right away, let's say you hit on this pick and he becomes a starting quarterback for you for the next decade. He's still only 36 years old. That's not really a concern for me at the quarterback position. Now, if Tyler Shough was coming out as a running back at 26 years old, huge red flag I'm staying away from. At the quarterback position, not really that big of a deal for me. Aaron Rodgers is 41 years old. He could potentially come back. Tom Brady played till he was 45. I mean, you look at the guys across the league, quarterbacks are playing into their 40s. It's not nearly as rare as it used to be. Tyler Shough has played a lot of football. Injuries are a concern for me because he's had 3 different ones. He's broken his fibula in college and has broken his collarbone 2 different times. Now, both of those were the non-throwing shoulder, but it's still a concern nonetheless. I've heard a lot of people say, okay, well, Tyler Shough put up good numbers and, you know, he lost games that he shouldn't have and he didn't perform well in those losses. That's not necessarily true. I mean, you go look at what he did against Stanford. He was iffy in that game. 270 yards passing, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. But then his other 2 losses, or three more losses. Miami, who was ranked in the top 10, 342 yards passing, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. SMU by a touchdown, who was a college football playoff team, 325 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. Notre Dame by a touchdown, who was a college football playoff team, 264 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 pick. Louisville did not lose games they should not have, except you could argue maybe the Stanford game. And Tyler Shough performed well in all of those losses. So, I mean, there's this thing around him of, okay, well, he didn't perform well in these big moments. He kind of did. I mean, his teams didn't always come out victorious. They were 0 for 3 against all the big-time teams they played. But Shough performed well. In those 4 losses, Tyler Shough, 10 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. CBS Sports put out an article last week saying one anonymous NFL head coach says that Tyler Shough is his favorite quarterback in this draft class, even ahead of Cam Ward. And look, that's a guy who's an NFL head coach. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I love Tyler Shough, but this happens every single year. Every year there's a guy who performs well at the combine, has a good pro day. People look at his measurables. Tyler Shough is 6'5", 219 pounds. And then, you know, teams that otherwise wouldn't look at him are like, hey, what does this guy have on tape? You go look at a guy like Tyler Shough. He has good tape. He's played a lot of football. And teams fall in love with him. He continues to rise up draft boards. There's certainly pros and cons with him, but I think there's issues with every quarterback in this class. Teams certainly believe there's a lot of value there with Tyler Shough. Because if the Saints were to take him, it would not be in the first round. The Saints could maybe even wait at 40. I know I just mentioned the reports of Adam Schefter saying the Saints are trying to be aggressive, move up a little further in the second round to try to grab a quarterback, reportedly, possibly Jaxson Dart. But if they can't do that and they want to sit tight at 40, Tyler Shough's a guy that could be there that could maybe add some value for you. Look, we're going to continue to break down that story of Jaxson Dart. I'm going to have a lot more on it tomorrow as well, what he would look like with the Saints. But look, whether it's Shuck, Milroe, Jaxson Dart, the Saints certainly appear to want to draft a quarterback this season. Maybe not at number 9 where everyone's hoping they do, but the Saints might be aggressive to find their next signal caller.
Hey, it's Hunt. Thanks for watching Hunt on Saints. Before you leave, help us out a little bit. Hit that like button, leave your comments in the section below, and hit that subscribe button so you get all our content right here from Hunt on Saints. We'll see you next time.